That's stupid anyway.
All right, now I'm going to try and explain some jumping to you, some body positioning, and where I think, at least when you start out jumping, this is how you should be. I think it's very important to have your weight and your body centered over the bike. You don't want to take off a jump way back like this because you have a tendency to pull the front wheel up and then get in a really awkward position and you're liable to crash. Another thing you don't want to do is you don't want to lean too far forward off a jump, because if the jump is steep, then the bike's going to hit it like that. You have a chance of going over the bars. So I think it's very important to stay centered when you're going to hit jumps. I think gear selection is very important. A lot of times you'll see someone riding in too low of a gear off the face of a jump, and what that does is that has a tendency to put the nose really high. It's going to get you in what we call a loop out. And you don't want to be Larry Loop Out, that's for sure. Okay, one of the other common mistakes that people make when they're jumping are when they are going to jump in the air, when they're going to come up short, when they're going to endo. It's really key to stay in control and not panic when you're in the air, because what happens oftentimes is, I mean, yeah, you're going to make a mistake, but sometimes, or most all the time, you can save it, especially if you're thinking clear. I mean, if you're panicking and you think, oh no, I have to jump off, you know, or I'm going to crash, you know, more than likely you're not going to save it. So it's pretty important to stay calm and really go through your head, okay, I'm in a bad position, what am I going to do to adjust to make this right, or make it the best I can make it without crashing?
All right, here's a quick recap on jumping. You don't want to be too far forward. You definitely don't want to be too far back. You want to try and stay as close as you can to the neutral ride position. Always remember to stay in the right gear. If you're not in the right gear and you make a mistake, don't panic. Jumping is the best part of our sport, so make sure you take it slow and have fun.
Sometimes it would help to have your buddy out there with a video camera if you have one available. It really helps to see exactly what you're doing, because sometimes you might think you're doing it right, but you're really not. So it would be cool to be able to get a video camera, maybe film with your friend, and go review it and check it out. Say, oh, okay, now I understand what I'm doing wrong. Sometimes you can't feel it until you see it. One of the things I like to do is make a little turn track. It sometimes builds up some little ruts, and you can get in there and you can practice your form, especially entering and exiting ruts. And you can do laps in there, and the track doesn't have to be very big, just so you can get in there and get the feel of the bike, get the feel of the corners, and get used to that. Obviously every corner is different, but this will help you find your form. Not only does a turn track help you with your cornering and your form, it really helps with using your brake, finding out how to use the clutch correctly, throttle reaction, and being really smooth with the controls. Using your brake pedal, using your front brake together, everything like that coming out of the corners. Putting up cones is actually pretty good. You get in there, you get to practice your line on your entrance to a flat corner. You get to practice using your throttle, using your clutch coming out of the corners, and would be a really good exercise to practice flat corners. Here's an example of how to do it right and picking out the lines by kind of coming in a little wide, braking in for your apex, turning and accelerating out of the corner. Now here's another example of what line not to take. You don't want to come straight in. If you're making a 180-degree corner, Your line doesn't need to be straight in, turn, and go because you'll be too far outside on the exit of the corner. You need to make a nice sweeping corner out of it, even though it's a tight, small corner. Very important. You guys might think this is kind of crazy, but it helps to put up cones and do these little disciplines, because in order to make a perfect lap on a track, you have to practice the fundamentals. And it's really important to get out there and spend some time off the track and doing little exercises that are going to help you figure out how to use the clutch, the throttle, the brake, picking lines. And it's all about technique. If you spend enough time doing some of this stuff, it'll make your track time so much more valuable.